Well, the History Center is a project that's been around for a very long time. It took about 20 years from sort of start to finish to put it all together. One of the reasons being because we raised about $33 million from the private sector to add to the government money that was invested, $17 million from Hillsborough County and about $2.5 million from the city of Tampa, which came in the form of the land upon which we're sited. We're very excited about the location, the proximity of the convention center, the river walk, the St. Pete Times Forum. It's an area that I think is going to become richer and richer over time. Being surrounded by Fort Brooke, Okeechobee Park is another great asset. Education is the long pole in our tent. It is the reason that we're here. It's the core of our mission. And we worked very closely as we were planning the History Center, planning the exhibitions. We worked very closely with both students and teachers because we recognized that a $50 million+ investment was going to be made in this museum. And so how do we maximize that value for area teachers and students? And so we spent a lot of time in small group and larger group settings soliciting their thoughts, their input. And I will tell you, the students were even more candid than the teachers were in terms of telling us what they wanted to see and what they didn't want to see. And then we incorporated much of that feedback into the exhibitions that you see as part of our permanent show today. And the reward for doing that has been great participation from the school district. We are seeing almost all 8th graders from the Hillsborough County School District coming through annually. We're also seeing a number of 4th grade students coming through. We see other grades as well, but those are the two big grades for us. And we're seeing strong participation now from Pinellas and also Pasco and other surrounding counties too. We have a super relationship with the Tampa Hillsborough County Library System. This project very much was built upon partnerships. There are many partnerships we have in place, but that's one of the most important to us. We have a satellite here in our building, a satellite of the library system called the Witt Research Center. It is open to the public. You don't have to pay an admission fee to come and use it. And what we have here are materials that reference our collections, the themes that we explore in our galleries, genealogical materials, city directories, maps, other materials that people researching this area's history might want to access. We also have access to all of the subscription databases that you would find in any of the library branches within the county. We have a librarian, it's staffed by a professional librarian from the system here on site. So we have expertise to help our researchers as they're working through and trying to find that information. We have several speaker programs, the most prominent of which is our Florida Conversation series. We hold about 10 events a year as part of that series. That's done with another very important partner to us, the University of South Florida, specifically the University of South Florida Libraries and the Florida Studies Center. We do a number of things with USF throughout the year, including publishing an academic journal, hosting this area's history fair, outreach to schools. We have a branch of the Columbia restaurant here, the Columbia Cafe, which is intended to sort of replicate the look and feel of the original 1905 era Columbia Cafe. So a lot of our visitors will come, tour the galleries for a little while, go have lunch at the cafe, and then come back. It was important for us to partner with the Columbia restaurant, in part because we wanted to have our restaurant experience be a continuation of what our guests were seeing in the galleries. So for example, when they're going through our Cigar City exhibit and they're learning about the rich food culture of this area, particularly of Ybor City and West Tampa, and they've learned about our Cuban sandwiches and our café con leches and all of those things that make this area so special, they can then go out to the Columbia and they can taste it, which is sort of the ultimate immersive experience in a museum setting, if you will. The museum store, one of the things we wanted to do was to make it an outlet for area artists and artisans who are making uniquely Florida items and to be able to sell those through our store. So there are items that you can't get anywhere else, which is pretty neat. And then we have the typical things that you might find in your average museum, logoed merchandise, for example, and books and things for children and the like. But I'm the most excited about those things that are created by artists and artisans living in our community. I think that's neat. We went from a very small amount of members when we opened. We quadrupled almost immediately our membership base and have continued to grow that since. We do a lot of, one of the challenges is once people have come to a museum, how do you get them to come back? And so the things that we're doing to incentivize repeat visits, 3-4 traveling exhibitions a year, and we have some exciting ones coming up in the next month or so. Active programs, and we're doing programs here for preschool children. We're doing programs here for seniors. So there's a lot for our members to choose from. You can come and you can learn. You can take a genealogy workshop. You can learn how to care for historical materials that you might have in your own family, or you can come and learn how to make a 1905 salad with the staff of the Columbia. So it's a really diverse offering that we're able to give to our members. Through the Smithsonian partnership, we're also able to, for a modest increase in price in your base membership, you can become a member of the Smithsonian, which gets you discounts in the Smithsonian store, the Smithsonian magazine, as well as free admission to those properties within the Smithsonian system that do charge admission. The ones in Washington typically don't, but there are some other locations that do. So always working to try to make those membership packages richer. We also have reciprocal programs. We have reciprocity with 600 other museums around the country, so you can take out your Tampa Bay History Center member card at a number of other institutions and get free admission when you're traveling around as well. And we're soon to celebrate our third year anniversary, and we're just getting started. During that first 3 years, we've learned a lot more about our audiences and our new building and our exhibits. We've identified new stories, collected new artifacts, and so in the next 3 years, I think you're going to see a lot of exciting things coming online, be they new programs, traveling exhibits, temporary exhibits, trying to build upon that solid foundation that we've put together in the first 3 years. I think we're standing in my favorite exhibit, and I think it's many people's favorite exhibit. It's my favorite for a lot of reasons, some of which are kind of behind-the-scenes sort of stories, but I think Kawakachi's story, first of all, a powerful story about a Seminole war chief who was a contemporary of Osceola's. He was with Osceola at most of the key moments of the Second Seminole War. They were captured and imprisoned together. Kawakachi escaped from prison along with Osceola. He was recaptured, brought back here to Fort Brooke, which was the predecessor to today's Tampa, found himself bargaining for his life. He was told by the authorities, the military stationed here, that unless he were successful in recalling his warriors from the swamps and the hammocks in X number of days, he'd be executed. He was successful in recalling at least enough of his warriors to satisfy the authorities here. His reward was he was taken from here to Egmont Key. He was reunited with his family, whom he thought had perished in an earlier conflict, put on board a ship, sent to New Orleans to ultimately be part of the Trail of Tears and relocation to Arkansas and points farther west. It is a story that was documented, though, by a young junior Army officer here named John Sprague, who was really fairly critical of what his government was doing. He didn't publish his writings while he was in the service, but he left the service shortly thereafter and published his book. And so we took his writings and brought Kawakachi's story to life in something that we call an immersive theater. And it is a theater where you are surrounded by full-scale dioramas, multi-screen kind of approach, and I think I like it as an exhibit because it is a great example of marrying a terrific story with some wonderful technology and really making it come to life. The better we understand the past, we talk about, well, you won't maybe repeat the mistakes of the future, but I think we'll also find things that give us inspiration to take on those challenges of the future. So I think it's awfully important that we study history and keep that in the forefront of our minds and appreciate the fact that we live in a place that has a very, very rich history.